So, by a show of hands, who in here owns a car? How many of you have financed your car? Is anybody leasing a car? No hands for leasing. Wow. Okay, well, my name is Nihal Salim, and today I'm going to talk to you about the shifting norm between financing cars versus leasing cars in today's society. This is a picture that I took. I thought it was pretty cool at the dealership that I used to work at, North County Buick Cadillac GMC, which is where I got a little bit of this knowledge. So what is financing? When you're buying a car, financing is one of the few methods that you can choose to pay for your car. Basically, it entails a loan from a bank that you pay monthly on a term that can be 36 months to 48 months, which would be 3 to 7 years. I'm sorry, to 84 months, which would be 3 to 7 years. And you are paying the full amount of the vehicle, plus you're paying interest. And after the term of the loan, you will be paying off the vehicle and you own it yourself. Now, what is leasing? Leasing is another form of purchasing a vehicle. And it's more of a short-term versus a long-term renting. Short-term owning versus long-term renting. And you have the car for 24 to 36 months, which is 2 to 3 years. You're also paying it monthly, the same as in financing a vehicle. The main difference is that you're only paying a portion of the price. So instead of paying the full price, you're paying what would be considered the depreciation value. And the other part of the price of the vehicle goes into what's called the residual value, which is the leftover amount after you have paid the depreciation value. And after the term of the lease, after the 2 or 3 years, you give the car back to the owner, which would then be the bank that you lease the car through. Now, in my opinion, what is the better option? Leasing. And I'm going to tell you why leasing is the better option, the components that go into a lease that make it a smarter option than financing a vehicle. Now, the first recorded type of leasing was in the 1700s. People were leasing horses as a form of transportation, in which they would borrow or pay monthly or pay in some kind of increments for a horse that they would use and then return it to its owner. And in the 1870s, people began leasing locomotives like trains or train cars or railroad cars for other types of transportation, be it for personal transportation of people to different locations via train or transportation of different cargo that they would need to use across the country. In 1954, U.S. Leasing Corp was the first company to lease vehicles in the structure that we have now, in which it is a short term, 2 to 3 years on a monthly basis. And by 1985, 1.3 million people registered leased vehicles. So we see the progression of leases and how they started becoming more popular, and even now how they're way more popular than they were in '85. Why are more people leasing? People are leasing as opposed to financing cars more often now because it's more financially efficient, it keeps you in a newer, safer vehicle, and there's less maintenance required in a leased vehicle than on a long-term financed or purchased vehicle. So let's do the math. So I decided to use Edmunds, which is a trusted vehicle website. They do all the research, they give a bunch of information, and we're going to be using a loan and a lease payment calculator. So I like to give the example of a $30,000 car because it is I would say a mid-grade, nicer car price range, and most cars that I would say young adults between 25 to 35, that's the price range in which people purchase vehicles. So this is going to show us the difference. So we're going to go for a $30,000 car. And we're going to put, so most people in financing or leasing a car choose to put money down, but to keep it simple, I'm going to put $0 down on this simulation. And we're going to select the term. So This amount that you see here changed from $30,000 to $32,250, which includes various fees such as state tax and so forth. And the loan term on this, let's go 60 because that is the most common, 60 months. And the interest rate, 5% is a decent interest rate for somebody with decent credit. So try to keep it average across the board. So for a $30,000 car, financing it for 60 months will give you a monthly payment of $609 a month. I don't know about you, but to me that's pretty high. Now, let's go back and see what a lease price monthly would be on the same type of vehicle. Now, lease term 36 years is pretty 36 months is pretty standard for a lease, so we're going to keep it at that. And 12,000 miles is also the average that people drive in the United States, so we'll keep the lease miles for that. And now the money factor is equivalent to the interest rate that you'd be paying on a loan. So the 00125 is equivalent to a 4.5% interest. Oh, sorry, I did something wrong there. Oh, the residual value, sorry, I forgot that. So residual value for decent credit would be between 40 to 50% depending on, 50 to 60% depending on your credit. So that's where I went wrong. So we went from $600 a month, over $600 a month, to $445 a month, all in for a lease as opposed to financing a vehicle. To me, that's the type of money I would prefer to spend on a nice expensive car as opposed to the $600 a month. So that's where you see the financial efficiency. Leasing also keeps you in a safer vehicle. New car models often come out with updated safety features every time a new model does come out. Therefore, when you get a new leased car every 3 years or so, you're getting into a safer vehicle. And year over year, safety ratings do improve. This is one of the things that car companies and manufacturers look at, their top ratings in the safety ratings. Now when you renew your lease every 3 years, you're getting into a new car, which means you're getting a safer car. Between 2010 and 2015, the rate of motor vehicle related deaths dropped by about 11,000 people on a yearly average. And a lot of this can be accounted for in the better safety ratings of the newer vehicles. Now, vehicle maintenance. On average, people should get their oil changed between 3,000 and 5,000 miles, and this can cost $35 to $70 depending on the type of oil that your vehicle takes every 3 months. So that's $200 a year plus other type of maintenance that you'd have to spend. So for example, if you need new brakes, if your car needs a tune-up, if you need to add more fluids, oil, windshield wiper fluids, that type of thing. Any mechanical work if your car were to break down. New lease cars usually come with a maintenance plan, which may cover the full term of your lease, may cover a year or two of your lease, which means that your cost for maintenance is virtually zero. And that's aside from the warranty that your car has when you purchase it. Most cars have 75,000 to 100,000 miles on it, and most people don't drive that much in the first 3 years that they own a vehicle, which means that most work that may need to be done to your car, even though you're driving a brand new car and it might not have any work that needs to be done to it, will cost you almost nothing. Now, overall, the norm in purchasing new vehicles is changing from financing to leasing because newer is better. People want newer stuff more often, and that's what you'll get with a lease. And leasing is becoming more popular because it's a better financial option. The option to get a new, safer car periodically is more attractive to people, and it's easier to maintain.